Hello and welcome back. I am John Stark, blind film critic here, and I'm going to rank the top 10 Best Picture nominees. All 10 films do have audio description, at least somewhere, or so you can find them. Sadly, not all at home, and we'll get to that. But this is me ranking them. I'm ranking the best. This is not my official top 10 of the year because some of these films aren't going to be in my top 10. There are films that I liked that did not get Best Picture nominations, so that's what's happening with that. But I see every other film critic is doing ranking the top 10 Best Picture nominees, and I've now seen all 10 of them. So even though I don't have reviews of them because I banked literally that many reviews. Uh, and I try not to dump more content on YouTube every day than I necessarily need to. I try to really manage that. So we're going to rank them. And when my reviews for, I believe I still have to put out Zone of Interest and Poor Things. So when those reviews come out in a few days, you will see my full thoughts on those. So we'll start at the bottom and work our way to the top. It gets really hard at the top. Actually, bottom was easy. Number 10 is easy for me. My number 10 is Killers of the Flower Moon. I'm sorry, I know there are people that love this film. It's not that I don't love it. I gave it a B plus, and I think I actually gave it a B on a second look, um, because uh, I really just believe. I mean, there's some things. I did an Oscar conversation. I was invited to do one for the American Council of the Blind, and Scorsese doesn't have female protagonists. He's avoided it his entire career. He's old. Dude, just have a female protagonist. This was the time to do it. This was the time to not tell the story through Leonardo DiCaprio's eyes and to tell it through Lily Gladstone. She should absolutely. There should never have been a question as to whether or not she is the lead of this film, and that's all on Martin, and that's all on his direction and his style choices, which is why Martin Scorsese wasn't in my top 10 list of directors this year, is because I believe he's made better films than this. There are a lot of choices that he's made that I totally disagree with on a fundamental basis, and they're reflected in how people are receiving Killers of the Flower Moon. When you look at the Screen Actors Guild nominations, there's a distinct lack of actual indigenous actors on that list. It's a whole bunch of white people and Lily Gladstone. And it's just like what? What? This film is supposed to be about this group of indigenous people being wiped out, and we kind of did that with the film. We want like Martin Scorsese just kind of made them irrelevant in the film by telling the story from the perspective that he does tell it from. I think it's an important story. I think Lily Gladstone does a great job. I actually think Robert De Niro does a really good job. Leonardo DiCaprio does good work, although it's really with him and De Niro, it's really hard to say this is the best work they've ever done because wow, they've both done. And same with Martin. I mean, even if this was from Lily's perspective, I don't know that this would be his best film. Look at his resume. I mean, the man has what do you put it in front of? Goodfellas, Raging Bull, Taxi Driver. What do you do? You just can't. So, for many reasons, Killers of the Flower Moon is my number 10. It does have audio description. Um, Probably if you get the VOD, but it definitely has it on Apple Plus, where it's available to stream for Apple Plus subscribers. Number 9 on the list is Past Lives. I've seen this film twice also. So both of these films so far I've seen twice. A24's Past Lives. It does make me think a lot about misconnections, and it made me think a lot about people I really wanted to talk to from my childhood. Unfortunately, none of those were romantic. So I think this film, I've mentioned this a couple times, and this is not a dig on the film. It just happens to be ninth on my list because that connection for me is not what it is for other people. And I think for some people, it'll hit them really hard depending on who that person is for them. It's I'm really surprised All the Strangers didn't work because All the Strangers works on a broader level. I think there are people in our lives that we wish we could have one more conversation with, more than there are people from our childhood that we would have a deep emotional connection to. Not everybody had a childhood love that they have pined over for that many years. So while it's nice to see that transpire on screen, there's something way more universal about what All of Us Strangers has. So there are two films that both really tapped into something that's universally true about all of us. It's just when you get to the really deep personal behind it, I'm not sure how many people necessarily have that aspect to it when this turns into sort of this missed romantic drama. um, I cared a little bit less about the two of them and the fact that they had missed their romantic connection. I really enjoyed the fact that the two of them did get to see each other again and did connect, and all of that worked for me because of, again, all of the stuff it brought up for me. You know, there are friends that I haven't seen since I was like 10, and I'd love to see where they're at and see what they're up to and find out, you know. But I don't I'm not in love with them. So yeah, it's a really interesting debut film from Celine Song, and it just happens to be not on my list. Now we're getting into a little bit tougher category because every film above here I gave an A minus or higher. Past Lives I gave a B plus. Um, yes. So number 8, I'll go with Maestro. It's definitely a film I've seen twice that I respect a lot, the craft. Do I enjoy it? I don't know. It's weird. That's part of the thing here that I'm taking into consideration when I'm ranking these films is how much did I enjoy it? And there are parts of Maestro that I love. I definitely I had a real life conversation with somebody where we were both, uh, fanboying over uh, the recorded sequence for Make Our Garden Grow and how phenomenal that sounds. Just amazing. It's like little things. There are little things about this movie that make me happy. There are little things about this movie, though, that I wish just had little nitpicky things. Like, I think there's so much to be said for the way he treats Matt Bomer in this film and the implications for that behind Leonard's bisexuality, when you don't really invest in it, when it becomes sort of an afterthought, and you're like, well, if I just casually mention it, that'll be good enough. And it's like, I don't know that it is, because because you start the film with him being with Bomer, and we don't really get to see any sort of real scene between the two of them. It's all just sort of these little brief connections. Like we're moving too quickly to Felicia. Like we have to get to Felicia, and Bomer's just an afterthought. Matt Bomer was a terrific actor, and there should have been a scene, like a really good meaty scene that the two of them had together that showed what Leonard's dynamic was like with a male partner versus what his dynamic will be like with Felicia. It gives us a great point of reference. It shows a different side of him, and it would have shown a different side to Cooper's performance. No, I'm not asking for a gay sex scene. I'm just asking for actually even more than that, a personal scene, a real true conversation scene between Cooper and Bomer that lasts for more than 15 seconds. You know, give me that. Give Bomer that one scene. You know, we got people who basically got Oscar nominations for one scene this year, uh, for a speech. So we could have done that for Bomer. Cooper just isn't interested in that. And then when you see him at the end with a man, that character also has no development. And yeah, we're just back to it. So anyway, I know the film is about him and Felicity, but in order to, if you're talking about a prism and I'm trying to come up with reasons as to why things are and where things are when they rank, those would be my reasons. So Maestro comes in at number 8. Number 7 is Barbie. Um, why before everybody's like, oh my god, you're a guy, you don't like, I like Barbie. I gave it an A minus. I have a couple little qualms with it. I already did my best director list of the year, and I named Greta Gerwig my best director of the year. Barbie does not happen in a vacuum. It does not just happen with any director. You can't just go out there and just pick a random director and Barbie suddenly becomes a Best Picture nominee. That is not what happens. This film is as good as it is and as being seriously considered as it is because of Greta Gerwig. And I consider her lack of a director nomination this year the biggest snub of any category, hands down. I can't think of one other than some films just simply not being recognized by the Academy at all in any category. The singular nomination that I would say is Greta Gerwig for Barbie. I feel like she should have been nominated, even if she doesn't win, even if it's Christopher Nolan's year. Somebody should have recognized that what she did here was impossible, and she did it anyway. Um, Barbie for Best Picture, jump back 5 years and try to convince somebody that Barbie gets the Best Picture nomination. They will laugh at you. You won't be recognized as a time traveler. You'll be recognized as a crazy person. It doesn't. It's one of those things that it's an impossibility. But Greta Gerwig made it possible. Um, I just wish she had spent a little bit more time out in the real world with Barbie. Barbie is far more mission focused when she leaves Barbie Land, on advancing the plot as quickly as possible, and she doesn't get to have the fun that Ken has. I think it would have been fine for Barbie to have more of those juxtaposition experiences where like Ken's walking in and he's like, I'd like to do surgery. And meanwhile, Barbie is walking in someplace and finding out that, you know, looks aren't everything, or she's having some sort of a negative. It kind of like just fast tracks her negative experiences to sitting on a park bench being really upset about the world. That's fine. I kind of wanted more from that, just a little bit more out of that experience. Um, and honestly, audio description wise, I stand by it a thousand times. I will say it 1,000 times from 1,000 hills. America Ferrera's character is named Gloria. I don't really care that they never used her name within the context of the film, that nobody ever said Gloria. When you look at her character, her trajectory, and her speech, it is bonkers that at no point in this film is she called Gloria. Her whole film about being seen, her whole speech is about being seen and heard and validation. And then right after that, she goes back to being either referenced by her job title or being mother to the girl who does have a name. And we have, guidelines for audio description that are outdated if that's the case, because somebody should have triggered an exception to this rule and said, you know what, it makes sense to name her. Otherwise, because I could write an entire film where nobody ever says anybody's names and just drive an audio description narrator insane. I could cast a whole bunch of people who look exactly the same, never give them any names, throw them into a film, get a whole bunch of blonde white women in the same film together, cast no one else, have them all wear the same clothes. Good luck. Have fun. I'll put their names all on IMDb. They'll be in the credits and everything, whatever. But I won't use them in the script. Good luck. Have fun. See, it's like if you take it to the extreme, then you've taken it there. So, and I think by not naming arguably the third largest character in the film behind, uh, you know, Barbie and Ken, it's weird. And yeah, Barbie's 7 for me. Number 6 for me is just kind of This film is amazing. I would be concerned if somebody told me they enjoyed it. I really do. I mentioned that in my review, which hasn't come out yet. This is Zone of Interest. It doesn't mean that I don't think there's the craft is there for Zone of Interest. Um, this is just last year. I went with um, absolutely the experience of it all. My favorite film last year was All Quiet on the Western Front. It hit me like a ton of bricks. I just I never need to see that film again in my life. But one time through was just stunning. And that's the same thing with Zone of Interest. One time through is stunning. I don't need to see this film again. It's a very difficult watch. It's a very difficult experience. I gave it. I don't want to spoil my damn review. I want you guys to watch the damn review. But even though I gave it a great score because everything I recognize about he what Jonathan Glazer has done with this film is very transcendent. He brings style into this. It has way more structure to it than his last film does. In terms of being able to follow the film, his juxtapositions are fantastic. The putting the this idyllic life right up against a death camp is incredibly effective and evocative, and there's some dialogue in here that hits hard. The sound design is incredible, um, but this is not a film that I like love and want to curl up with. And I would be concerned if people do. It's a very dark film and very uh, just why. I don't need a constant reminder the Holocaust happened, but this is a very strong candidate for heir to the throne of Schindler's List. Um, Everything about it. The only thing that I didn't like was that Glazer didn't have enough confidence in himself to not need to flash forward to the present like he does a little bit right at the end of the film. That's the only just it was like I believe I said it's like having this delicious chocolate cake delivered to you and there's a cherry on top and you're like, I don't really need that cherry. Why is that cherry there? Well, everybody puts a cherry on top. But do did you need to? Like it doesn't need to be there. Like your cake seems fine. What's that cherry gonna do for me? I kind of felt like that. Like I didn't need to flash forward. Um, he should have just left people where he was. So anyway, um, yeah, great, powerful film. So coming in at number six, it's basically tied with my other international nominee, which is coming in at five, Anatomy of a Fall, which is another tremendous film. I've actually seen Anatomy of a Fall twice. This is a film where you can't actually get it currently anywhere on home video with audio description. It does have a track. They did use it for its theatrical release. However, it has not translated into any home release, which is very disappointing as of at least my recording of this video. So hopefully Neon will put it somewhere with audio description. It's not on a streaming service yet. It's just on VOD. Sandra Hüller is transcendent. In this, now that I've seen her in two films, I still think her performance in Anatomy of a Fall is fantastic. She has to believably be who she is in order for the film to work. It's a very nuanced performance, and if she plays it any other way, the film just doesn't work. Milo Machado is also excellent in this. It's just a really great, gripping courtroom drama. It's the kind of film that we don't see made anymore. It's got an absolutely terrific script. Um, I really, it's, I'm struggling to find reasons why I don't, why I don't like this film. You know, it is five. It just is five. That's where it is. So. It's just I don't know. It's just I think there's some stuff maybe at the very beginning with PIMP that just drives me a little insane. It's like really nitpicky shit when you get this close. I'm like, who loops one song over and over and over and over again? Because you hear it, it's just once. It's not even the whole song. It's like a section of that song. It's just looping. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, if he was my roommate, I would kick down the door like way before. But like they're trying to do things like normal things inside the house and just like go about their days and like this is absolutely normal life for us. He does this all the time. He just loops the like part of a song over and over and over. That's his process. And I don't know that I didn't that part kind of bothered me. It felt like they didn't have access, like they didn't have a budget to get more than one rap song, so they just got one, or they were only allowed to use part of like 15 seconds of it, so they just looped. Anyway, that, that's the only thing, but that's like right at the beginning of the film. Once you get over that, like the rest of the film is fire, all the way to the end. So now this is getting even harder. Oh my god. Um, so we're down to the final four, and basically, yeah, this is incredibly tough from this point on. Um, my number four pick right now in a very narrow window is Poor Things. And the only reason I would say that is while I think Yorgos's craft in this film is fantastic, I do think Emma Stone steals the entire thing. I think there's something to be said for that, is that this is a film that will be remembered for its performance more so than being a film. I think people will look at this and be like, wow, you know, that Emma Stone performance in Poor Things. Let's go watch that. And there are some films that are like that, where we watch it because there's a performance in that film that's great. And while the film may be great, it's usually the performance that we talk about, where we get in there and we say, oh, we're gonna go watch so and so and this, and it's like suddenly everybody just knows. Like, oh yeah, that was a great performance. The film was good, but I mean, oh yeah, that's it happens every once in a while. She really is that good. I didn't actually believe it could happen, but it really actually is that good. She actually does transcend the film. And so when a human being is able to transcend a film, and I'm sitting here trying to figure out how to rank the final four films, I will give Poor Things fourth place because Emma Stone is on like a different level. She's out, she has as I've said in the review, gone Super Saiyan. She's just on a different, she's in her final form. It's, it is what it is. We just have to accept that. So my number four is Emma Stone. Yep. Moving up, moving up the list, in an incredibly competitive year. My number three is American Fiction. Um, for a lot of the same reasons that I just said, but in a slightly less sense, a slightly more hybrid sense, which is why it edges out. Because I think Jeffrey Wright also kind of runs away with American Fiction. Now, when I say kind of, it's this script is fire. The concept of this and Court Jefferson's um, tremendous script is what helps Jeffrey Wright's performance, and you realize that it's not all in Jeffrey's acting so much as in what he's being given to say. So it's really hard to not recognize. It's like when a great actor teams up with Aaron Sorkin and you have these amazing performances. I always look back to there's a special episode of The West Wing with Martin Sheen where he walks into a church just after his secretary is killed off in The West Wing. So spoiler alert, but that was like 20 years ago. Um, and that moment married with that actor, that's the perfect example of taking a great actor with great writing. And that's what I feel like is happening here is um, it's one of the reasons why I didn't have Court on my list for best director is I don't know how much of this is direction, but I do know that the script is amazing. because I hear the words, I hear the dialogue, and I know that what they're having to say and the way that it's structured is tremendous. So he, if nothing, is a fantastic voice to have for screenwriting moving forward. We'll see as he continues to direct things how the depth of his direction. So if I'm getting really nitpicky about four of my favorite films of the year, that would be why I would put American Fiction at number three. Is I think while the film is fantastic, there's something very transcendent about its script and Jeffrey Wright. Because it's not just Jeffrey Wright, whereas with Emma Stone, it feels like Emma Stone is way ahead of everything in that film. Yeah. Uh, anyway, so I'm putting American Fiction at number three. Number two for me, and this is where it gets tough because there are two films left, and the question is, am I that guy or am I not that guy? And I am, depending on how you see it, I am that guy. So Oppenheimer is getting number two. I do think Oppenheimer is an incredible film. I've seen it twice. I actually enjoyed it more the second time around because I didn't have to sit through an overused sound design in a theater. My cinema had absolutely no idea what volume that should be at. And when you overdo the sound design on this film, it actually, like, people were talking about the score afterwards. I was like, I don't even hear the damn score. All I heard was rumbling the whole time. You know what I'm saying? Like, but there was something when I watched it at home, and suddenly, because I don't have like a bunch of extra subwoofers or anything like that around me, I heard the score. Actually, I heard people's performances. It was amazing. It was like finally, like, the balance was there, and it made me realize this is a film that can be ruined uh, by a bad projectionist. It really can. The film has excellent audio description. I Another reason why it's here is I don't think this is Christopher Nolan's best film. I don't think it ever will be. I think he's already Scorsese slash Spielberg himself, where he's made a film that people will always associate with being his best work, and he's going to try so hard to find people who are willing to demote The Dark Knight. Um, I know there are some people who, turn their nose up at Batman, so he's found a couple people, and those people are embracing Oppenheimer. There are a couple people who are just like, I don't go with popular things. Sound like Oppenheimer. Cool. I love you. You do you. But The Dark Knight is and always will be. It's like a top 10 all time for me. Um, it's going to be really hard, even though Christopher Nolan might be my favorite director of all time based on the fact that I think I gave 10 and a B minus, and that is the lowest I've ever graded a Christopher Nolan film. He's never gone below that, which is not something I can say for some other directors. Um, yeah, it is. I love him. I love Oppenheimer. But when I'm talking about what I think the best film of the year is, I'm going to give that to The Holdovers. I adore The Holdovers. I've seen it twice also. Um, and I this is definitely Alexander Payne's best since Sideways, and I need to rewatch Sideways. The problem is finding Sideways with audio description to be able to do that. I don't know if Holdovers or Sideways is the better film. I've actually had that in my mind because as much as I love Sideways, it's been a minute and I do need to rewatch it. Um, it's hard to tell if maybe this whole time what Alexander Payne needed was someone else to write the script for him. Was for David Hemmingson to come along and write this tremendous script and for Alexander Payne to direct it in order for The Holdovers to be the best film of the year. So the performances are amazing. The fact that Dominic Sessa just appeared out of nowhere and is as good as he is, if that kid doesn't have a career, we've messed up. Casting agents have failed. Dominic Sessa should be. I want to. I'm not seeing stories about Sessa like getting huge projects. Like he should be a Marvel superhero. That kid is like for days. He's got charisma for days. I think I said he reminded me of a young Robert Downey Jr. Um, when I first saw the film my first time around, and I stand by that. He feels like somebody who is A-list. You know, he feels like the first time you've seen Tom Cruise in something. I remember the first time I saw even Channing Tatum, when I saw him in Coach Carter. There was something that was about this kid that was just playing like a background character. I was like, that kid has way more charisma in him than he should for a character in a supporting role. And I correctly predicted that he would go on, and he did. He went on to do other things. Is Channing the best actor of all time? No, but people saw that there's something inherently within him, and that's what Dominic has. He has it way more than Charles Melton does. He has this very obvious sort of A-list quality about him where you could put him into anything. And he obviously reads dialogue like it's fire. So I can't wait to see the next thing that he does. And I've adored Divine Joy Randolph for years. Um, just for years. She hasn't been around too long in the public light, but I remember watching High Fidelity, the TV series, and that was when I really became obsessed. I was like, who is this? And how is she stealing this entire TV series? It's weird because she kind of takes on the Jack Black role. And I was like, I think I like this iteration of this character more than I did Jack Black in High Fidelity. Um, she was just such a welcome presence, and here she's doing something completely different. This is an actress that does a lot of comedy, a lot of voiceover work, and here she is doing this, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful performance from her. She is really a thoughtful, dramatic actress. I again would say please watch films like On the Come Up and Dolomite Is My Name. This is not the first time she's done drama, so she's been phenomenal before. I'm even really excited for supporting performers like Carrie Preston. I think Carrie Preston does a really nice job in here, and I'm glad that she was part of the ensemble. So I will put Holdovers as my pick for Best Picture of out of these 10. But what a great 10. Even with Killers on there, honestly, I've had worse Best Picture nominees. I've had nominees that I've just absolutely not liked at all on any level where I'm like, this film shouldn't be anywhere near the top 10. At least with Killers, I can say there's craft. I can point out certain performances that I like. In previous years, I've had a Best Picture nominee that I've just hated. I'm just like, I don't like that film at all. I totally disagree. Um, that didn't happen here. So Killers is just not something I would have picked. But because Scorsese is so good, that film is only going just to be just so bad. So anyway, it's not like it's a poorly made film. It just should have been from the Osage perspective. So that's the Best Picture top 10, and my reasons for that. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys on the other side.